Hey there, this is Anonymous T Podcast. How are you guys doing? We spill it anonymously here, but we are going to get into some things. Hello, everyone. Hello, YouTubers. Hope you guys are all having an amazing day today. So we're going to be talking about this scandal involving these fake nursing degrees that are being utilized to get nursing license and work and take care of your loved ones, you guys, across the U.S. So we got to talk about it. So this is coming from Forbes.com. So you guys will remember back in January, it was exposed, I think, nearly 8,000 nurses from a couple of schools in Florida and another location. Basically, were called the Operation Nightingale investigation from the FBI, on which they uncovered that these nurses basically paid upwards of $17,000 to knowingly get a fake nursing degree, right? Knowingly get a fake nursing degree, fake transcripts, fake everything, and were eligible to sit for the nursing boards, which is the the boards that the NCLEX exam is basically the exam nurses take once you've graduated nursing school to become licensed, because you cannot practice as a nurse, whether it's a registered nurse or an LPN, without that nursing license. You can work in other aspects of healthcare that do not involve direct patient care. However, in order to provide actual patient care, whether it is administering medications and everything else, you have to be licensed, right? You have to have that nursing license to do that, right? And we're not talking about nursing assistant level tasks and things of that nature. We're talking about actual nursing tasks. You have to have a nursing license to complete those tasks, right? So according to Forbes, they're saying it is a fast growing industry of an estimated $7 billion a year, you guys, that are being awarded in fraudulent diplomas and transcripts, right? So they say the following. They say a loved one is in a hospital or a nursing home. How do you know if that registered nurse or licensed practical nurse providing bedside care has received the proper training? In January, the Justice Department unsealed criminal conspiracy and fraud charges against 25 people in connection with the sale of 7,600 fake diplomas from 3 now defunct Southern Florida nursing schools for $114 million, you guys. The certificates enabled untrained individuals to sit for the National Nursing Board exams, and at least 2,800 of them passed. The unsettling result is fake nurses were working everywhere from Texas nursing homes to a New Jersey assisted living facility and New York agency caring for homebound pediatric patients. The Department of Veterans Affairs had to remove 89 phony degree nurses from the direct patient care as a result of what the feds call Operation Nightingale. And, basically they wanted to uncover this and say that the VA, when they removed the 89 nurses, that there was not in fact any patient harm. The state license boards are also scrambling. Delaware has annulled 26 licenses of working nurses. Georgia has asked 22 to surrender their license, and Washington State is investigating 150 applicants with fraudulent credentials. In recent months, Republican Congressman George Santos' lies have drawn attention to the problem of fraudulent degree claims. In a survey last year, nearly a fourth of workers admitted to have fibbed on a resume about a college degree or credential, while ChatGPT has heightened concerns about how easy it is and how much easier it might become to cheat one's way to a legitimate degree. Now, the nursing diploma scandal and a new scholarly book are putting the spotlight on another underappreciated and fast-growing fraud problem in education: phony degree mills, fake degrees, and fraudulent credentials in higher education. Edited by 3 Canadian academics, argues that academic integrity scholars have paid too little attention to fake degrees, which are, quote, just as important, if not important so, than other forms of academic fraud, such as cheating and plagiarism. In fact, there is so little scholarly research on degree mills that the Canadian editors turned for insight to Alan Ezell, an 81-year-old retired FBI agent who holds 65 degrees, only one of them legitimate, and an associate's degree in accounting from Strayer University. Ezell spent the last 11 of his 31 years as an FBI agent running Operation Diploma scam called Dip Scam, before retiring at the end of 1991 to a job in corporate fraud investigations at a big bank, and then retiring again in 2010 to research, write, and lecture on diploma mills. While no one can really know the size of the market, Ezell estimates that phony degree mills now do $7 billion in sales worldwide. You guys, let me repeat that again. fake degree mills now do $7 billion a year in sales worldwide. With much of that market in the United States and Middle East, particularly the Gulf region, that has exploded from $1 billion in 2004. He figures thanks to the internet, the push to educate more adults online, and the COVID-19 era shift online classes for college-age students too. The U.S. has long been a hotbed for fake diplomas because of its emphasis on educational degrees. It has decentralized system for accrediting schools and its relatively free market in education. The book asserts the House and Senate committees have held hearings on the problem for decades, but those haven't actually led to any legislative fixes. And separate interviews with Forbes, Ezell and University of Calgary professor and academic integrity expert Sarah Eaton, one of the Canadian book editors, described how governments devote too little effort to shutting down diploma mills and hiring managers, including at universities themselves, do too little to check for fake degrees, whether they be from mills or fraudulent claims of degrees from legit universities a la George Santos. We work in higher education where degrees matter a lot, and you need to not just have one but multiple degrees to get a full-time job now, Eaton says. When we found out anecdotally that there was no systematic practice for hiring managers to check the credentials of applicants, we were floored. Notably, the United States does not explicitly outlaw advertising, issuing, or holding fake degrees, though prosecutors have used various broad criminal statutes, including wire and mail fraud, to go after different schemes. There's a law against people holding a fake passport, so why not go against holding a fake degree, asks Eaton. Eaton and Ezell don't underplay the difficulty of cracking down on the mills or the screening to take out fake degree holders. For example, Eaton notes creating a definitive blacklist of fake schools or diploma mills would be impossible because of the fraudsters can easily change their names, internet domains, and other information to keep themselves off such lists. Instead, she suggests employers check with a reputable education agency in the United States. The Department of Education maintains a list of current and formerly accredited and legitimate colleges and universities. Ezell points out, approving to Oregon, where by law its Office of Degree Authorization protects students, employees, and licensing boards by compiling information on accredited programs, evaluating transcripts from accredited ones, and providing information on degree mills. There's a law against people holding a fake passport, so why not against holding a fake degree? Eaton's book argues that the terms of the diploma mill and degree mill are often too used broadly by the media and those in higher education to describe low-quality for-profit schools that leave graduates comparatively worthless credentials, the kind of schools the government has attempted to cut off from federal student loans. That doesn't make them fake degree mills, which proves no classes, no work, and often only exist online. As Ezell tells it, the 64 fake bachelor's, master's, and doctorates he holds were obtained with money, sometimes claims of life experience, and really not doing any work. The most work he's ever done for a fraudulent degree was a 4-page paper for a master's. Today, presumably, he could have spit that paper out with ChatGPT. Ezell's FBI Discam team, which disappeared after he retired from the agency, investigated around 80 suspected diploma mills, dismantled more than 40 of them, and obtained 21 convictions. The brazeness of the business also impressed him. His first investigation in 1980 was of Southeastern University of Greenville, South Carolina, a degree mill run out of a tiny 2-bedroom house. The proprietor actually invited Ezell and another agent who also bought a degree from him to tour his operation and showed off student records, fake diplomas, seals, and ribbons that the FBI would later seize in a raid. The proprietor died by suicide the night of the raid, and when the FBI reviewed his records, it found 171 of Southeastern's 620 graduates were employed by federal, state, or local governments, evidence that it is not just private business or universities that have long been lax when it comes to checking degrees. Southeastern was small potatoes compared to some of today's internet-enabled operations. The largest and most notorious diploma mill Ezell has studied is CashApp, a 25-year-old Pakistan-based operation that sells transcripts and fake degrees running from high school diplomas and to PhDs. Despite a 2015 New York Times investigation of hope I'm not butchering that, followed by criminal convictions in the U.S. and Pakistan, Exact is still up and running in its 2016 prosecution of an Exact executive operating in the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, and has said Exact had collected $140 million through U.S.-based bank accounts from tens of thousands of customers. Azell says Exact continues to operate through dozens of school names and websites that are nothing but layers and layers of flypaper, trapping students looking to earn a legitimate online degree, as well as those looking for a fraud mill. For example, one current front in California, Imperial University, touts its Joe Biden scholarship program and claims to be accredited by the American Higher Education Commission with a red, white, and blue logo to boot. No, this is not a real accreditor. To Hill, Azell tell it the damage goes back beyond fake degrees. He says Exact employees have blackmailed some holders of its degrees, demanding more money so that they won't be exposed. Now that they'll have all this information about you, you're in the right position to be extorted, to be blackmailed, to be threatened with publicity, with arrest, with deportation, to the point of suicide, Azell said. We have seen single victims give up to upwards of $1.4 million. Exact, which has always insisted on legitimate business, did not reply to requests for comment on its corporate website. It describes itself as one of the world's leading information technology companies with 45,000 employees and associates, and says that it has moved most of its operations out of Pakistan, though it still lists in Zimbabwe address. Diploma mill expert, as the fake nursing degree case shows, lots of funny diploma business is still being made in America and not just in Florida. In fact, in the nurse's case, though it was exposed after Eaton's book went to press, aptly illustrates the book's point about for-profit schools and a fragmented licensing and accreditation system providing fertile ground for diploma mills in the U.S. According to an FBI's affidavit and other documents filed in federal court in Maryland, the nursing degree investigation began back in 2019 with a tip to the FBI. Two men were creating phony transcripts and nursing certificates from a Northern Virginia for-profit nursing school. A school in Virginia shut down in mid-2013 for multiple violations. One of the men, Virginia Musa Ben-Gura, owned the failed school, and in 2015, the pair started selling phony diplomas and transcripts showing both clinical training courses in anatomy, pharmacology, and the like for $6,000 to $18,000 a set, backdating them to before the school lost its license. Both men pled guilty last year to wire fraud. In the U.S., nurses must graduate from approved of 1 to 4 year LPN or RN nursing programs, which includes both classroom and hands-on training, pass the national exam, and meet any additional requirements of the state they want to be licensed in. Currently, 36 states participate in the Nursing Licensure Compact, which allows nurses licensed in one state to practice in others. The fragmentation creates problems for state regulators. For instance, Maryland doesn't allow for-profit schools, but does allow graduates of other states for-profit schools. 111 graduates of the Virginia Mill were licensed by Maryland before it instituted new fraud controls in 2018. In 2018, the second man involved in the Virginia school scheme, Maryland resident Patrick, also began working with Jonah, a Florida mill operator who had purchased the for-profit Palm Beach School of Nursing in 2016. Florida shut down the school in 2017 because too few students were passing the national test, but gave the school until December 2019 to graduate current students. Napoleon and others used that window to begin selling backdated and fraudulent certificates and transcripts from Palm Beach, usually $17,000 for an RN degree and $10,000 for an LPN degree. They charged extra fees for things like having someone take New York State required online course on infection control. According to an FBI affidavit, 1,226 graduates of the Palm Beach School applied for licenses in New York, and 369 of them were actually licensed there. Why New York? It doesn't limit how many times an applicant can take and flunk the national test, and once they hold a New York license, nurses can apply to work elsewhere. In pleading guilty to last November to conspiracy and to commit healthcare fraud and wire fraud, nursing school owner Napoleon admitted that she personally obtained at least $3.2 million from the sale of fake nursing school documents. She is yet to be sentenced as she cooperates with the broader Southern Florida investigation that in January produced a new charge against 25 people. According to the government, the investigation is ongoing, you guys. So this is huge, you guys. This is so huge. You know, really, this nursing scandal has really opened the door and opened the opportunity to really dive deeper into globally how many schools are offering these fraudulent degrees. But it is very dangerous, you know, especially in the realm of healthcare, that there could be potentially nurses who did not graduate from accredited programs, and went to, you know, schools basically that just wanted them to just pay money for a certificate and never done actual clinicals, never did like real life patient care, and basically literally learned on the job. You know, once they got their license, is very scary. Taking care of your loved ones, whether it's in a hospital, whether it is in a clinic or nursing facility, it is very scary out here. The one thing I wanted to comment though on the article, it talked about how, you know, there are some states where, you know, these people took the NCLEX because there's unlimited attempts. And I want to say that part of that, so in relation to this nursing scam, that is probably why some people, you know, anticipated failure because they didn't have the proper nursing training. But there are people who have graduated, you guys, from credentialed and accredited nursing programs, whether it's LPN or RN, who still struggle with the NCLEX RN exam. So I just wanted to make that note, that not to just assume that because somebody has failed the NCLEX exam, whether it is once or more than once, that means that they went to a bad school or that they were a bad student, because it's very highly intelligent people who are not passing, you know, this NCLEX exam. Very successful people, very, you know, great people who are not passing this exam. And it has a lot more, it's a lot more factors that are involved, you guys. Some people, long story short, are just not good test takers or have test anxiety or have other things going on. And the NCLEX is a unique type of test because it's basically a test. It's a computer aptitude test, right? So basically what's going to happen is, based off of how you answer the question, they're going to either give you easier questions if you are getting the questions wrong, or they're going to give you harder questions when you get the questions right. But what will happen is it will fluctuate, right? It's an adaptive test, right? It's going to adapt to you. It's going to adapt to how you answer those questions. So the more correct answers that you answer, you're going to stay above what's called the passing standard for the NCLEX, right? But then if you continue to, you know, fail the easier questions and not work yourself back up to the more difficult questions that are going to be above the passing standard, that's what happens. That is why people end up failing the NCLEX exam. And then what'll happen is the exam can shut off, right? So for nursing, I believe it's minimum 75 questions. And I think they've since changed it to, it used to be a maximum of 265 questions. I think now it's 145 questions is the max. But what will happen is you have between 75 minimum and 145 questions, and 15 of those questions are sample questions, to where you have an opportunity to pass this exam to get your license, right? But not to get too much off track, but I just wanted to kind of clarify that, because I know there's a lot of misconceptions about people who have not passed NCLEX, or it took them, you know, several attempts to get their license. It has nothing to do in relation to this particular nursing scandal. But this is what happens, you know, these jobs, a lot of these trades, they require you to have certain levels of education and certain levels of experience. So I see why people are taking this route of trying to get a, you know, quick degree of some kind to put on their resume to try to get a job, right? And the other side of it too is some of your traditional schools are even making it harder for, you know, the average applicant to get in, right? You almost have to be perfect in everything. And some of these schools and some of these requirements that have, you know, upped their GPA requirements, have upped, you know, their standardized testing requirements for your ACT, for your SAT, for your GRE, if you're going to grad school. So I see why people, unfortunately, they're falling for a lot of these online programs, whether it's for, you know, post-secondary education, or even fell for some of these nursing scams, is because they're looking to get into a lucrative career and, you know, not have, you know, all of these other barriers that's holding them back. But the problem with nursing that's a bit different from these other fake diploma scams is that you were talking about directly impacting patient care. You're talking about nurses who may have active license, and this is why I brought up how, how many times somebody took a test or whatever. It may not be an indicator of where they went to school or how they're going to be as a nurse, because you have people who could have passed this NCLEX on the first attempt who technically have never done a clinical, have never done anything on a patient until they got hired for that nursing job, which is very scary. Meanwhile, you have nursing graduates who have graduated from nursing school and who have done at least a year to 2 years of clinicals, of hands-on patient experience of what it is to do a nursing assessment, of what it is to administer medications to a patient under the supervision of a clinical instructor, and basically are not licensed or are having difficulty getting that license. Meanwhile, you have somebody that went to one of these fake schools, these fake nursing schools, paid $17K and got a fake diploma, got fake transcripts, and could take their nursing license no problem, take the NCLEX no problem and get their license and practice on your loved ones, you guys. And who's to say if there's not another investigation? And I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't, if there have been any deaths or any, wrongful, patient care or any type of thing that, potential malpractice suits that could go after these nurses, if any of their loved ones was involved with the direct care of these particular people. Because they haven't released all the names, they've released some of the names, but I am curious to know who some of these nurses are and whether or not these families are going to go after them or what is ultimately going to happen, because just simply removing them from the job or removing them from whatever hospital or clinic or agency or whatever they're working at, that's not going to be enough. They're going to have to dig deeper and find out if anybody was directly involved in the cause of potentially something bad happening to a patient, which is absolutely scary, guys. So that's like a whole nother investigation. That is a whole nother conversation in itself, right? But it doesn't seem like the government, for whatever reason, is, really hitting this hard the way that they need to, right? They're going in, at least on this particular Operation Nightingale case, but it seems like globally, we still have a really big issue. And until something legislative comes down, people are still going to try to find their way to make these fake diploma programs work for them, right? So that they can still make money, because it's a $7 billion business, which is insanity in itself, right? So there is that. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are about this in the comments. I am curious to think about what you guys think about this. And are any of you guys in the comments medical professionals? I do want to know that. If any of you guys are medical professionals, what you guys think of this scandal involving the nurses that obtained fake degrees. I would love to hear in the comments what you guys think about this. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment I post new content on my channel. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys again very soon.